Testing.
Mine's been got to mute that as well.
Alright. Welcome, guys, to the third episode of Hear Me Out. It's with T-Risk, which will be the host of this little episode. But I would like to give you guys a little warning. We are talking about something with the Nintendo, and since it's Nintendo, we cannot just abruptly show video footage or show any content stating of Nintendo. So we have a placeholder for the time being, and Nintendo's very iffy with their YouTube stuff, so it's just a warning, heads up. We can't show you any other footage of based on the topic of today, so we do apologize for that. And yeah, so T-Risk, take it away.
Alright, welcome everyone, T-Risk for the new game in order, and today is episode 3 of Hear Me Out, and today's subject is going to be a quick one. It is if does Nintendo really need to make a console again, and what I mean by this is that do they need to make a powerful console again in the vein of a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One? Because as we see with the Switch, it is not as powerful as those consoles, nor is it just a home console. So, with that, Nelson, I want to have your opinion on this. Do you think Nintendo needs to go back to the ways of how it used to be with the NES, the Super NES, and the GameCube, in a way as well?
In my opinion, I believe so, because that's when Nintendo was at its best. They had third-party companies participate within the console. There was a lot of game variety back then. It wasn't just saturated with just Mario and Zelda and some of the other titles that are out now currently. But with that being said, the Nintendo Switch is trying to go back to that time of where they do allow third-party companies to come in and help to make the console good again. Now, we'll just have to wait for the Nintendo Switch's lifespan to see if that does come into fruition. As of right now, we don't really know much because everything is just to be dated with certain games. So
right, I totally agree with you there. I just don't know if it's necessary for them to make a console that is strictly just a whole console again, but it's something that's powerful, probably, because this is for the last maybe 10 years or so, power has definitely been something that has been a focal point for a lot of the hardware recently, more so now that PC has really become a easier avenue for a lot of more casual players.
Okay. But now let me ask this though: do you feel that Nintendo is just not doing well, period, or is it just specifically within the home console market that you feel that they're not doing their strongest, and their portable department, which is the Nintendo 3DS, which is surprisingly destroying a lot of competition, even when it comes to home console or even like on the go.
I think their home console market needs to change in a way, and I think the Switch is probably going to help with that. Just for the whole fact that they merged their handheld department with their console department.
Mm-hmm.
So with the 3DS, that was just a I guess a lightning in a bottle incident. I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but I I think it's gold because the 3DS really gave off a lot of creative ideas and a lot of quality of life changes for games.
Mm.
But when it came to the Wii U, that sort of idea just did not um it just did not hit home with a lot of developers. They were looking for more power in general and they just didn't get. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, I don't. I think Nintendo realized, okay, that sort of idea just isn't going to work for home, or people are just not ready for it. I don't know if it was just the design of the Wii U, if it was the name of it. Those are huge factors in that area. But I think I think yeah, Nintendo really needs to find their way again in terms of trying to make a big name for themselves in terms of the, the fight between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One.
Right, but it's not as easy for, I guess you could say, Nintendo to catch up. Yeah, they could spend the extra money to be up there and rivaling with current next gen consoles, which is the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. I
I wouldn't
mean,
even call those current anymore because now it's the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One S, or really the Scorpio that will come out who knows when.
yeah, I mean, I still call them next gen because, like, honestly, you're gonna slap a fucking Pro thing on the PlayStation when it's technically the same exact thing. The only difference is that your output is different, and it's the same thing with the Xbox One S. Same
Oh,
console,
we
same
definitely
games.
know that,
Yeah.
but the average guy probably doesn't. When he's
Mm.
picking up the PlayStation 4 Pro after hearing about it just being a bit stronger than his average PlayStation 4.
Yeah, but that's due to false information of people not reading up on certain things. That's something that they have to keep up with. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Nintendo always has its weirdness to hit the market in their own little way, whether if it's from the Nintendo 3DS department or whether if it's from their home console department. I would like to
Yeah,
see the console have a good success, but it's very hard to say at this point in time because it's iffy and they're doing a lot of methods that a lot of consoles now are not even doing. Like the Nintendo Switch is going back to flashcards.
right.
Other consoles are still doing disc.
There's it's very hard to like say Nintendo to make like a normal console again
Mm-hmm.
because what exactly do you mean? Because most people would say, "Oh, I just want a normal controller again. I just want a powerful system again." But I don't really recall Nintendo ever having a normal console in terms of that regard because the D-pad wasn't a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Having the XY buttons and the shoulder buttons weren't a thing. Having having a controller that was asynchronously designed with a analog on the top and an analog on the button was something that was totally different, and having analog sticks in general was something that was totally different. Like I know people know the PlayStation 2 controller and the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 controllers having these two twin analog sticks, but there was a time, people, where the PlayStation 1 didn't come with an analog controller. It just had a D-pad.
That is.
So with this is like, okay, with the Wii, they came out with motion controls, and eventually we saw the Kinect come out from like being an upgraded PlayStation camera, I believe it was, and we saw the evolution of that on PlayStation side with the PlayStation Move controllers. So we don't really know if any of the crazy things going on with the Joy-Con controllers might end up being something that becomes not necessarily a standard, but an optional thing down the line to improve the Kinect or to improve the PlayStation Move. Or even just Oculus and VR in general.
Well, we had someone in chat just recently, Ziploc Bob, was speaking about the flash cards. He said the problem with the flash card, in my mind or my opinion, is the write speed. Now, if I was to turn that into a question, what do you think is more preferred in your opinion? Is it better to do everything on disk to hard drive, or is it better to do it from hard drive to flash card?
I would prefer flash card because we already have the option of playing most of our games digitally these days. So it's not like during the NES and Super NES era where, okay, you have the cartridge, oh crap, I better hold on to this and I better protect it, because now just any sort of air or moisture to the cartridge is possibly going to mess it up. Cartridge tech has kind of improved since then. So I think Nintendo has this down, more so because they've been doing this with the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance and the DS and the 3DS cartridges, and those don't really fail. So you get the benefits of the games being faster to start up and faster to load, and without the scare of you're going to scratch a disc, you're going to ruin a cartridge. And again, it's not like these games later down the line are going to be extremely hard to find. They might not always be digital, but they might not be always that hard to find now because these games have backups on top of backups.
Okay, now we have a little bit more knowledge from Ziploc Bob. He did a little bit of research. I will confirm this in in a few. The highest write speed for a flash card or a SD card, you would say, is 30 megabytes per second, to where a Blu-ray disc could be anywhere from the range of 54 to 74 megabytes per second.
Interesting.
So in a sense, Blu-ray disc is faster write speed, but based on the recent answer that you was given to which one would you prefer, flash cards, in my opinion, from what I've experienced, has the faster boot up option, because there's there's not much. You know what I'm saying? It's not much to read on it. You don't need a laser. You don't need something to scan the disc and stuff like that. It doesn't require that much of a load. So the flash card's like instant compared to a disc, but the write speed to record data may be in a subtle difference when it comes to a Blu-ray disc.
To write data, yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
More so with the information that he's given, because even if it's 54, that's still a substantial difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference, actually.
Yeah.
Very huge difference. But that's pretty interesting. It is interesting because we were just joking about how the Nintendo consoles always felt like they were behind Microsoft's product or Sony's product. you know.
Yeah, and as of late, it's definitely telling that Nintendo just really can't get a break. They
Um,
always push out a product when it should be.
yeah, it's
So
true. But I feel like Nintendo can do better. I think this is just like a marketing scheme in a sense to always make the more affordable and more family related console than anything, because that has been their main focus as of late.
yeah, for the uninformed, the NES is called the Famicom in Japan, and that means family computer. So this isn't something that is new for them. With like the GameCube looking very like toyish, and the Wii initial campaign being very family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now,
a lot of people have to keep that in mind.
right. So now we have another um, little thing here. It says for the boot up time, and Ziploc Bob's opinion, the SD card is the way to go for continuous play. However, he would rather go with a Blu-ray player if you're using a Blu-ray disc, due to no load times and then lesser load times at that. And he says that he personally loved the idea behind the Switch. The pricing and the accessories are a little bit steep for his liking. So
That's the general consensus, Ziploc.
mm-hmm.
And for that, I'll just say that that's how Nintendo makes their money off of these things. Until they get some games out there, that's how they're going to make their money.
So in a sense, they're acting like Apple.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly think if the Switch had gone the way of an Apple product where you could just choose your bundle, a lot of the concerns of most people would just be gone. Even if it's just something that it's on their Nintendo website, that would have been a lot more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So some people view this thing just solely as a handheld. Some people think of it solely as a console. They'll never move it off of that dock. So being able to take money off here or there would have been helpful.
Right, right. Mm. And another thing that also concerns me is like, hold on, he had another question. And like $60 for Skyrim, a 6-year-old game, is just poor pricing. I mean, you have to put it in the sense that when Nintendo touches something, usually something gets changed. That's usually the consensus of when they get any type of game, like how
Yeah, Tekken.
like Tekken, their Batman games, Spider-Man games. Some of it was alterated to where that it worked with their peripherals, so it had a different perspective. So they might try to sell Skyrim as a brand new game with like different control movement, probably motion sensor, stuff like that. So I could see how they're trying to flip it in a sense to have us pay $60.
I mean, honestly, I would love for Skyrim to just be one-to-one the same thing and have no motion controls and nothing like that and pay like $20.
Mm-hmm.
But it's likely there's going to be like motion controls and like optional control paths, as well as like maybe special spells like being able to throw a Mario style fireball or something, or fight something from the Nintendo universe in general.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to wait and see why it's going to cost that much. Okay, he also said something else. I know it will have new input values and so on, but I don't see it having $60 of value to me. However, if someone else thinks it does, good on them.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it is an opinion at the end of the day. Some people may not feel that since the game has been out for quite some time, it should be a lot cheaper. Yes, in my opinion, I believe it should because it had a lot of time out. But normally, when, again, another console tries to come with an innovative idea with a game that has been out for some time, they'll try to make it to where it is a new game because there's a lot of changes within there. So it's depending on how the developer and the company wants to take that direction, and they come up with the price points. But for people who's had the game on PC, for people who's had the game on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, 360, PlayStation 3, it is stupid cheap now. Skyrim is, last time I checked, no more than like at least $20, probably even less.
I honestly think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not playing that game on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the mods alone, just for the quality of life changes made by people.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're probably doing yourself a disservice anyway, but that's just my opinion on it. Some people feel that just being able to play that game on the go is enough for them.
Right. That's right. That's right. So, do you have any more things to bring up for the Nintendo Switch as of maybe the lineup of games that's coming out? Do you believe that within their first physical year they will be fine? Do you think that it will flop like the Nintendo Wii U?
If it flops, I'll give it maybe 6 years for it to flop.
6 years.
Yeah. Only because of I have to see what Nintendo plans to do with their handheld department. Are we still going to see 3DS games come out? Because they recently did a Nintendo Direct for Fire Emblem, and they showed off 4 games for Fire Emblem. They showed off an announcement for a Switch specific Fire Emblem game.
Yes.
They showed off one that was a mobile game. They showed off one that was a 3DS game specifically, and they showed off one that was a 3DS and Switch game. Now, a lot of people, when they saw that, the general reaction was, why does the 3DS also get a Fire Emblem game? Why does the 3DS also have to take resources from the Switch game to be on a handheld? And I don't think people noticed that they tried to cover all their bases. So I think that's what Nintendo's probably going to do. I don't think we're going to see a new model of 3DS for a while, aside from maybe one that has the power of the new 3DS, but is generally even more compact. Besides that, I don't know. And let's see. We have Ziploc Bob again saying, I think it's too early to tell, honestly. I do not see it flopping, but I see it having a struggle to start before it gets traction. I have to commend them for saying all first-party titles will run 60 FPS at 1080, and I would rather have that over 30, or sometimes an unstable 30, and that at 4K on, say, a PS4 Pro. Take that with a grain of salt.
Because last time,
with a definite grain of salt. I don't even think Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game, even runs at 60 FPS.
Yeah, that's what I was about to mention. I read something on Machinima that both Wii U and Nintendo Switch versions will be running at 30 frames per second, but the only subtle difference is that the Wii U will only output it at 720p, where the Nintendo Switch will output it at 900p, which is just a tick higher than 720. Just a tick. Not much.
Right. I think you will see that for a Mario game because they usually run at 60 FPS.
Yes.
Like I don't think I know a Mario game that has it aside from the Super Mario 64 game. But yeah, Ziploc, just take that with a grain of salt.
Because right now I'm about to confirm what the frame rate per second is for the game, just to be sure. Yep, both games are locked in at 30 frames per second to give it more of a cinematic feel.
Right, and that has been the case for Zelda games since forever.
Mm-hmm. It has.
Like, if it's going to be a top-down game, it's likely going to be 60. But if it's an open-world adventure style, in the way of Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, 30 is what you're going to get.
I mean, I don't have an issue with 30 frames per second with some games because, again, it makes it more of a, ooh, excuse me, a cinematic, personal feel for your play experience. So, some games will run at 60. Like you have, let's see here, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's a 60 FPS game. You'll have, oh my God, what do you call that game? The thing with the squids.
Splatoon.
Thank you. Splatoon 2 would be at 60 frames per second. And you have some little first-party games, that stuff for the Nintendo Switch and stuff like that little sport boxing game where you're a boxer, or the little mini game stuff, that would be at 60. But some games in the future most likely will run at 30 because that's like a safe zone to make sure, like, okay, I can lock it in at a stable 30 at 720 or 900p and not have any frame delay issues. But there's certain games that it benefits for. It's not for everyone. Everyone is this 60 frame FPS mindset now, even though, which I find funny to bring up because we always had 60 frames per second from the late 90s. All right, from the Super Nintendo, Nintendo Genesis, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast. Like we had 60 FPS. It just they recently started slowing it down from the mid-cycle of the PS2, then PS3, and then Xbox 360. Then they started doing a 30 FPS. Why? Because it was more controlled, and there was a lot on the screen at the time, so they didn't know how to render it.
Yep, it's more control, it's more stable, and it's more beneficial for trying to push out just more from the console.
Right.
And I think in that perspective, Nintendo has a good handle on what games should be 60 and what games should be 30. Because it is very hard to find a 30 FPS game from Nintendo from even the Wii era that has significant slowdown. Like maybe from our third party, yeah, sure, but from first party Nintendo themselves, it's a hard look to find something that ran particularly bad. Like again, you mentioned Mario Kart, and Mario Kart on the 64, sure, I'll give you that. But Mario Kart on the GameCube and Mario Kart on the Wii and the Wii U definitely ran quite stable. And Nintendo knows that if it's a execution reactionary heavy base game, it's probably going to be 60.
Right.
If it's something where they just want you to watch and look at the scenery and watch and look at what is going on at the time, it's probably going to be 30.
Okay. So, is there any other particular interest of this topic of Nintendo? Should it be making another console? Is there anything more to add on to that, or do you feel...
I actually want to hear your remarks towards the question that you gave me earlier, which was, do you see this going to fail anytime soon?
Based on what I've seen in their current lineup for launch, it's not going to be a good start as a launch title, because from what I've seen, that they're releasing one of their first party titles. I don't remember which one. I don't know if it's like the 1-2 Switch game or whatever. The Bomberman game and Zelda. in my opinion, it's not a console seller, and you're forcing, you're forcing the hand for us consumers to buy your console, which is $300, to just buy one game and wait. It's not like we have Zelda, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Shin Megami Tensei. That would have been awesome. But
I agree. I probably wouldn't have bought any of those games, but it would have been far more helpful for more people than less.
Yes. And it's just a little weird how I don't see like them releasing like a Mario game at launch. That's a bit random in my opinion. We have to wait till almost holiday of this year to see Mario Odyssey. I find it a little bit also strange, like we don't know the release date for the the Ultra Street Fighter 2 game, and we don't have anything else on any other good game that's supposed to be coming out for the Switch, like the Fire Emblem, the Xenoblade, the Shin Megami Tensei, the possible chance of them coming out with another No More Heroes title. There's so many good games in the shoot has yet to be revealed, and we're only getting Zelda as the proprietary first party launch title game. I really, really pray that people wise up, get their voices heard, and force Nintendo's hand to, drop more like complete games at launch, because this might not turn out very well, just like how the cycle of the PlayStation 2 and the cycle of the PlayStation 3's launch. You remember those consoles? They did very, very poorly in the first 4 months of its life cycle. After the first 4 months, they picked it right back up from right when they left off, and they dominated, like always.
And for me personally, like, I did get a PlayStation 2 at launch because there was nothing that was appealing to me. And then the PSP and the PlayStation 3 came out, and with the PSP, I made the terrible mistake of getting one in the first year, and all it was ports. And with that, I realized, okay, I'm just going to stop getting anything concerning PlayStation at launch. This was a terrible idea. So I think people just, if you haven't had that experience already with the Wii, just look at what happened with the Wii in general and think, because yes, there are going to be games coming out for this thing. Yes, there are unannounced games coming out for this thing, but you don't know what that is. You don't know what is the release schedule for the general majority of these games. Sure, there's going to be a game in April. There's going to be a game in March, I believe. But everything else after that is summer. Everything else after that is not even fall. It's holidays. So that you don't know if something's coming out in September or October. It might be November and December. As far as holidays are concerned, if Halloween isn't considered. So keep that in mind.
Right.
Alright. So with that, is there any particular games you want to see from this thing? And it doesn't mean just first party, it could also be third party games as well.
There's a lot of games that Nintendo just needs to stop messing around with and bring it back out. A lot of people want to see a Metroid game again, because it's been some time since we had a Metroid game. Some people,
one with Samus.
Right, with Samus. To kind of honestly, like, Mario's been thrown down our throats for quite some time, so that's like the norm. Zelda's already, been here and there with its games. I haven't seen a new Star Fox game in a while, even though they made a mention that it may be a possible Star Fox game coming out for the Switch. I mean, we'll see. I would like to see another F-Zero game, if at all possible. There's a bunch of titles that they could mess around with. Like recently, as I was mentioning before, they're coming out with like Shin Megami Tensei. They're coming out with Dragon Quest. They're coming out with Fire Emblem, Xenoblade. All these titles, all these RPGs, like they need to keep that up, like how they did with the GameCube, like how they did with the initial Wii. They had very good titles. They had a lot of niche titles that no one really knew about. I'm pretty sure they could add Resident Evil 7 on there if they wanted to. There's a lot of possibility that the Switch can bring back, but it's depending on the company and what corporate thinks of what titles that they need to, to push out. There could be something where they could pave their way to fighting games again, like how they used to, like how they're trying to do with Ultra Street Fighter 2, in which, in my opinion, sounds super fucking cheesy, but
I don't think that's even the cheesy part about it. I think the final really cheesy. Man. Because I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, but I don't know how many times you can touch Street Fighter 2. Like, I've never seen a game with so many different versions in my life. It's crazy.
I want people to, like, think long and hard. Just considering inflation and all other sorts of currency issues, how much money have you spent in your life playing Street Fighter 2, either arcades or buying ports after ports?
Yeah, it's been some time. Like, we had it for Super Nintendo Genesis, and then it just kept going from there. From that era, then it jumped to Game Boy Advance, PlayStation. You jumped
Xbox.
You jumped to a lot of consoles, even like cell phone.
Yeah.
You jumped on that too.
And it's on the Wii, and it's on the Wii U, the older ones, but yeah, and then you have HD Remix.
Yep.
So that is probably Capcom's Mickey Mouse. They will sell that thing to you over and over, and you know what? You probably buy it.
That is very true, but we can only play something yet so much for so long.
Well, me in particular, I kind of want to see some of the older games that they just haven't touched, like reimagined. Like, in the right hands, I would love to see them have themselves or someone else rework Urban Champion. And just make it more of a fighting game, even if it had some of the older elements as like stage hazards of some sort. I would love to see Fighter's Destiny show up as something unique and different in terms of being a fighter. And they also had another fighter that I played way back when on a borrowed Famicom called Joybeck Fight. If you've ever heard of that.
Yeah, I heard of it.
And it's a pretty interesting fighter from Nintendo, and there's more going for it than I would ever expect coming out of it, out of a Famicom. And other than that, just the ones you mentioned, like an F-Zero, like a Metroid. I want Nintendo to bring out a variety of games again. Like, sure, I love the fact that Zelda's on here, but I don't need like 5 Zeldas on a Switch. I would love to have that shaved off to 2, or maybe even just this one Zelda, and take that time to diversify their library.
Right.
They have Nintendo is up there with a lot of the other older companies of having just this grand library of characters and games and storylines that they could work on and just don't.
Mhm.
Capcom is one of them. Sega is one of them. Uh, what is it? Valve is another one with their Half-Life.
Mhm. Right. Right. Right.
All right, and I believe that's Alex, right? Saying good
Well,
stuff, guys. Like, got a job.
okay. Congrats.
Congrats.
I would need to talk to you offline about several things, but we'll leave that for another time. But yeah, congrats on that.
All right, congrats. And with that, I'm going to conclude this little show. Nelson, thank you for hearing me out. Ziploc, Bob, thank you for your input, and thank you for hearing me out as well.
No problem. No problem.
All
Alright,
right.
guys, so that will be the wrap up for episode 3 of Hear Me Out. Again, I would like to say as a disclosure warning, we are not able to show any Nintendo footage due to the fact that they have a policy within YouTube to censor our video unless if we manage to join their little Nintendo program thing, which again, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with that. But that's the reason why you didn't see any Nintendo Switch footage or anything else. So we have the logo as a placeholder to be on the safe side because it's free usage.
Yeah. And until that gets sorted out, this is probably going to be the setup you will see concerning anything related to Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So please bear with us on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay.
All right.
And with that, guys, we're signing off. Thank you for watching. Tune back in sometime either next week, either Tuesday through Thursday. We're trying to find a selected day to keep this as a permanent day or not. So just, look out for the channel, follow, and it'll make life a lot easier for you. And with that, we're signing off. And see you guys soon.